Viewers, when Ibrahim Traore recently released millions of insects into the artificial river he had created, the entire world was stunned for a moment. People were left wondering, what kind of step was this? Across the world, when artificial rivers are built, fish are released into them so that fishing can flourish. Some people create special zones for animals like crocodiles so that tourism can be boosted. But Ibrahim Traore did something no one had expected. He did not release crocodiles, nor rare fish. Instead, he chose an animal that most of the world considers nothing more than a wood-gnawing pest, the beaver. But the question is, why beavers? What was Ibrahim Traore's true purpose? And how could this animal turn this artificial river into not just a tourist spot, but into a living natural ecosystem? We will find out all of this in today's video, so make sure to watch till the very end. Viewers, if we look at the recent history of Burkina Faso, we see a truth that made the lives of millions there unbearable, and that truth was water scarcity. This was a crisis that not only affected humans, but also crops, animals, and even the very breath of the land itself. Villages had dried up completely. People had grown tired from digging well after well, and women would travel miles to bring back water which was often either contaminated or finished before it could even reach home. In such a situation, when a child cried in agony from thirst, a mother had nothing left except prayer. Things became so desperate that for a single sip of water, people were forced to mortgage their honor, their land, and even their own children. It was a time when even the rains had retreated, and nature itself seemed angry. But in such a time, Tor rainwater, a huge artificial river, was brought into existence. In the beginning, people were surprised. Some made fun of it, some said it was a waste of money. But as soon as the first year of this project passed, the results shut everyone's mouths. Where crops once dried up, now greenery began to spread. Hope returned to the eyes of the farmers, and the livestock started getting clean water. This artificial river was not just a water reserve, it became a symbol of a new life. Children in the villages, who were growing up without ever seeing a river, now played happily in the water. Farmers, who once only prayed for rain, could now water their crops themselves and had become prosperous. The economy started improving. People began working on new lands, and small businesses started opening in the surrounding areas. The government called this project a People's Revolution, and Ibrahim Traore began to be seen as a savior. But every path to progress has its challenges, and the same happened with this artificial river. At first, when the water flow was strong, everything seemed natural. The water was in constant movement. The land absorbed it, and birds came to the banks to sing. But as time passed, the water flow began to slow down. In the riverbed, soil, leaves, and mud began to accumulate. In some areas, water started to stagnate, which caused a rapid increase in mosquito breeding, and clean drinking water became scarce. Where once crops stayed fresh and healthy, now the water began to give off a smell. People started complaining that the water was no longer the same, and some even stopped using it altogether. The situation reached a point where a blue-green layer started forming on parts of the riverbanks, a clear sign that pollution in the water was increasing. This was a warning bell. If nothing was done immediately, this project, which had become the hope of Burkina Faso, could itself turn into a disaster. But friends, this is the moment when Ibrahim Traore made yet another revolutionary decision. A decision that seemed simple, but behind it was a deep wisdom of nature. The very first thing he did was gather all the most trusted environmental experts, water specialists, and engineers from across the country in one place. He held hours-long consultations with them. Not only the country's own specialists, but models from abroad were also studied. The systems of countries that used modern technology to keep their rivers and streams clean were examined. Many nations had large filters, water pumping systems, and machines installed that cleaned polluted water. But these methods were extremely expensive, wasted huge amounts of energy, and were harmful to the environment. For a resource-limited country like Burkina Faso, it was impossible to install machines every few kilometers to clean the river. At that moment, Ibrahim Traore once again turned to nature, thinking that the problem which had disturbed nature should also be solved by returning to nature's own lap. He gave the experts one clear instruction: we will not put extra burden on the land. We will give the land a chance to breathe. With this mindset, a new research effort began in the country, and eventually the experts discovered a creature that had remained hidden from human attention for centuries. It was the beaver. Viewers, the beaver is a medium-sized, rare animal usually found in North America, Europe, and a few specific regions, and it is called nature's engineer. This animal cuts down trees near water and arranges the logs in order to build natural dams or barriers. These not only regulate water flow, but also help clean the water, settle pollution at the bottom, enrich the soil's fertility, and establish a complete water ecosystem. The magic of the beaver is that wherever it lives, life returns again. Ibrahim decided that to clean the artificial river, no expensive machines would be installed, no electric plants would be set up, instead, beavers would be released. This decision seemed strange, unbelievable to the world, and even laughable to the locals. They didn't know that these small, innocent-looking animals are in fact among the smartest and hardest-working architects on Earth. Within just a few weeks, when the beavers were released along the banks of the artificial river, they began their natural work without pause, without training, and without instructions. They started chewing the soft trees growing along the riverbanks, collecting branches and twigs, mixing mud and grass to build dams. And in just 1 month, dozens of small natural dams had been created in the river. These dams balanced the flow of water, prevented stagnation, and gradually began settling the accumulated pollution at the bottom. A few weeks later, when the experts tested the water samples, they were stunned. The water that was once foul-smelling and polluted had now become crystal clear and blue. Fish that were dying before had started returning. Birds that had migrated away began to come back to this natural environment. And most importantly, people once again started drawing water from this very river to drink, without any filter or machine. Viewers, it wasn't just the water that was cleaned. The land around the river began to turn green. Fresh grass started to grow. Local medicinal plants returned. And all the credit went to the beavers, who silently worked day and night. These animals, who live far from humans, never complain, never take money, never consume energy, they simply restore the river's life through their natural system. Today, in Burkina Faso, the mention of beavers is being added to school curricula. Their posters are appearing on walls. Children are hearing their stories. And the world is now seeing this model as a successful example. This was the moment when the entire world realized that if humans become friends with nature, nature never responds with hostility. And these beavers prove that the solutions to humanity's greatest problems are not always in machines, but hidden deep within the secrets of the earth. So viewers, this was our video for today. Tell us in the comments how you liked it, and for more interesting videos like this, be sure to subscribe to our channel. Until the next video, may God be your protector.